It serves you right, Lois, after all the love schemes you pulled to get me to marry you.
That clip is from Batman the Brave and the Bold, the Season 3 episode Battle of the Superheroes. While that whole show was full of references to the Silver Age, that episode in particular really dialed it up. And it also had a large focus on Superman and his supporting cast and all of those shenanigans, of which there were plenty. It's an episode so full of callbacks to stories, some of which are so dynamic that they deserve their own spotlight, their own video to highlight the stories that they're drawing from. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics, and we're going to be looking at one of the many reasons that Superman has had to break up with one of his loves. Oh yes, this is a marriage outing, but he's not marrying Lois Lane because it's the Silver Age, so unless it's an imaginary story, it's most likely not happening. This time it's still imaginary, and he's marrying Lana Lang. The sequence shown in the episode Batman Brave and the Bold is a recreation of the cover for Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane number 26 from the year 1961, and the cover story is entitled The Wife of Superman, and it's showcased as an imaginary story. Now, while there had been out-of-continuity outings before they came to be known as imaginary stories, that label would start to take hold and become what those type of stories were called. The name actually debuted in Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane, and so it's credited as housing the first official imaginary story. The issue that has that even boasts a #1 in imaginary story series. And that's in Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane number 19. And it's also a marriage story. In that one, he's marrying Lois. It's a backup, but it was decently popular, and so then you'll start to see more and more of those stories under that label. This issue number 26 actually references that prior story. A brand new imaginary story. In the first 4 tales of this popular imaginary series, we have seen what could possibly happen someday if Superman marries Lois, but supposing fate fools us completely, and the Man of Steel, instead of marrying Lois, weds Lana Lang, who was his childhood sweetheart when he was a Superboy in Smallville. What would such a marriage be like? Surprises galore await you when you read The Day Superman Married Lana Lang. There they go. Superman and his bride, Lana Lang. Joke. I mustn't let anyone know I'm heartbroken. They already know, Lois. They already know. Now, Lois wanted to marry Superman herself, but failed. I can imagine how she feels. Poor kid. Now, while the episode that's referencing this frames this as more of Lois's silly antics or shenanigans, the story itself is fairly different. This isn't one of the outings where Lois is scheming to marry Superman. I mean, it's kind of in the background, but it's not active. Even so, I can see why the imagery was chosen. Superman cooking a steak with his heat vision is peak. Just let him cook. Now, the story The Day Superman Married Lana Lang has art by Kurt Schaffenberger, and it's written by, they're not entirely sure, there are 3 people whose names are floating around, there are 3 stories, so I guess it's dealer's choice. Henry Boltinoff, Jerry Siegel, and Robert Bernstein. Whoever it was, they went wild with this one. If it's any of them, watch it be somebody else entirely. The story itself opens with Lana reporting on a space missile exhibition, and she is as thirsty as ever. Superman is presenting a weird statue he found on another planet to the exhibition's directors. Lois Lane and I have wanted to marry this beautiful hunk of man for years, but no luck. They're doing a combo balloon where the edges will indicate what's a thought and what is being spoken out loud. But I do like to imagine that she's just saying that. She's just that down bad on air. Lois and I have been trying to marry the hunk of man for years. Back to you, Steve. Now, during the Silver Age, as mentioned, Lana Lang had been Superboy's childhood love, although let's dial back on the romance and love aspect and dial up the trying to prove that Clark was Superboy. That trying to out his secret identity, that was at the forefront. She concocted many unhinged schemes to try and prove that Clark was Superboy, and he would always find ways to thwart her. But it turns out she was trying way too hard. All she needed was a telescope. After the presentation and the telecast end, Superman flies off. He's streaking down towards the roof of that building. Has he spied a sudden emergency? I'll keep watching. Moments later, through her telescope, Lana sees Superman is donning outer garments and changing to his other identity. Oh no, this can't be. His secret identity is reporter Clark Kent? Oh my. As a teenager, I suspected that Clark was really Superman, and I often tried to prove it. Clark must have cleverly outwitted me each time, probably with his superpowers. The rascal. Oh, all the years of mutual manipulation. What scamps they were. Also, I need Lana's belt. Lois is in this issue. She has lunch with Lana. She's still trying to figure out Superman's identity, and she thinks she's on the right path, but she isn't. Lana, meanwhile, is just pondering what to do with her newfound knowledge. She's pretty zen about it. She's probably numb from all those years of being gaslit. She finally decides to just talk to Superman. You say this is important? Yes, and I don't want anyone but you to hear what I have to say. Soon, at Metropolis Falls, Superman, I know your secret identity. You are Clark Kent.
I thought you gave up trying to prove that years ago.
Several things. Firstly, Lana, why the secret secluded location? No one can hear you scream. There's even a waterfall. And then Lana was never heard from again. Thankfully, Superman is not unstable in this issue and instead just falls back onto his boyhood tactics. He's running through his Rolodex of schemes. Gotta get the childhood playbook, which starts with, what? No! But this time it's different. I mean, she had a telescope. After all the lengths he went to hide his identity, to be undone by a telescope. But as Lana explains how she learned his secret, Superman's smile fades.
So you finally did learn my identity.
It's the world's biggest scoop, but I don't want to reveal it ever. Your crusade against crime and injustice is too important to be spoiled by a mere scoop. So Superman, I beg you to use your power of super hypnotism to erase your secret from my mind. That way I can never accidentally betray you. Make me forget, please. Now, Lana, how do you know he hasn't already? How do you know that this is the first time you've had this conversation? Maybe you've had it many, many times before. But this is not that type of story, and Superman does not opt for wiping her mind, although he seems to be glad that it's on the table. No, instead he's touched that she doesn't want to just instantly reveal his identity to the world. And it turns out that the secret to winning his heart was basic human decency, that and the kind of blanket permission to wipe her mind if need be.
How sweet and generous and self-sacrificing of Lana. There's so much I never realized about her. Lana is considerate and beautiful. Somehow, I never before noticed how beautiful. I must have been blind.
He's kissing me. Oh, at last. At last.
Her lips, they're thrilling. Great Scott, I love the girl. Despite all my mighty powers of mind and body, I never knew it till now.
Well, this is the Silver Age, and we saw how into it Lana was getting in her own mind. That's gonna skirt the edges of the code. We can't break it. They need to get married. But who shall be the best man? It can't be Superman. Next morning at his apartment, Clark Superman Kent dons his action uniform, then instructs a Clark Kent robot, which emerges from a secret closet.
You'll be the best man at my wedding, Clark Kent robot. Don't lose the ring.
Yes, master. I obey. I now pronounce you man and wife.
I hope they'll be very happy. I won't let myself become a broken-hearted old maid. Maybe I'll marry Clark Kent someday.
Lois isn't aware that I am a robot.
Robot Clark thinking takes me out every time. We could really go down some paths with that.
Lois can't even have consolation prize Clark Kent. Now this story has no B-plot, but I sure wish it did. Just a subplot of Lois trying to win the heart of Robot Clark. I'm sure Superman wanted to go on a honeymoon, and he is definitely not above just having his robots go about and live his Clark life for him. Superman's wedding gift to Lana is permanent superpowers. You know, so we won't have to worry about her getting hurt, which was the excuse he always gave to Lois as to why they couldn't get married. Also, note this because this is something he wants, for her not to be able to be hurt. Now the comic claims that he can do this because the serum he created would only work on a certain blood type, and Lana has it but Lois didn't. He also has a costume for her all prepared. He's been thinking about this, but maybe for somebody else, because he's forgotten about his shrine to Lois that he has in the fortress, which you've seen in multiple issues if you follow this series and other Superman series. It's just a thing that he has. But as they tour the fortress, a room in honor of your old girlfriend?
Uh-oh, unless I act quickly, we'll have our first argument. Now that we're married, these no longer interest me.
You didn't have to do that, dear. But if you didn't, I'd have. Translation, yes, you totally did. How could you forget that those were there, Superman? Also, note that there's no corresponding Lana shrine. Take that, Lana. No stalker room for you. Is this better or worse than the time when he destroyed his Lois shrine because she married Bruce Wayne? He certainly had more passion in the Batman Stole My Girl issue. Now, Superman has built a dream home for him and Lana, and things are going really well. Too well. This needs to be ruined somehow. This can't work out. The imaginary world can't be better than the main one. This isn't Silver Age Superman Red and Blue. So what we start to learn is that not only does Lana have his powers, but she's also invulnerable to kryptonite. And at first this is presented as a good thing, because it is.
Good work, Lana. My powers are returning now. How lucky I am that you can't be harmed by kryptonite.
Okay, so get ready, because society is about to ruin their marriage. Society is to blame. I'm not even joking. It's a combination of external factors that have been internalized by Superman and Lana.
Those things are about to destroy their relationship. Strap in.
Days later, outside a bank, those crooks use kryptonite to make Superman helpless while escaping. But Superman's wife, Super Lana, is capturing them and will save her husband. Thank goodness. One afternoon in Superman's floating paradise, after Super Lana has saved him from additional gangland kryptonite traps, We're all fortunate that Superman has a wife who can always rescue him from the menace of kryptonite. You know, that newscaster didn't sound like he was making fun of him. And that wife from earlier was just super glad that he was gonna be okay. Super glad. But Superman isn't doing well. You can see it in these panels. His manhood is being threatened. He feels emasculated. He's not mad at Lana or anything. He's just sad. He feels like he's not fulfilling his duty as a Superman. He can't get to power couple mode, or even to the idea that it could be okay that she's more powerful than him. I mean, he was stronger than her for the majority of their relationship, and that was okay because that conformed to the expected norms. This is outside of that, and they're not handling it. So because either the writers are subscribing to this, or they're just working inside of the code, or they're trying to buck the code by being so aggressive about it, whatever is happening, this is going to be a big dramatic moment in their relationship. And it just ends up being really sad because they actually love each other. His pride's hurt due to my invulnerability to kryptonite. Before, he was the world's mightiest person, but now they're saying I'm greater than he, and that he needs me desperately. A man needing his wife? Disgusting. Darling, let's get away from crime, trouble, and news commentators. Let's visit my dad, Professor Lang, in Africa. Getting away from it all may save our marriage. Yeah, those news commentators, they're always stirring up trouble. Holds true. Through line. Also, so is the idea of we'll get away and he'll save our marriage.
Great idea. Lana's doing this to spare my feelings. Bless her.
This Africa trip, the it's gonna save our marriage trip, it ends it. Because they encounter some red kryptonite there and it makes Superman go berserk. And so Lana has to stop him. Out over the ocean streaks the Man of Steel. He's heading straight towards Metropolis. I must stop him. In the state he's in, he may do something terrible. I've tackled him. As the super newlyweds fall into the sea, then struggle, monstrous waves are raised, threatening ships.
What is it, Captain? Undersea earthquake?
No, much worse. Superman and his wife are having a terrible fight. Desperately, Super Lana hurls Superman into outer space, and as she battles to keep him there, astronomers excitedly watch. What's happening now, Professor Wilson? She's hurtling meteors at him like dishes. Okay. In all fairness, this is way more embarrassing than the past green kryptonite incidents. And once the red K wears off, that's the last straw. It's over. Lana needs to leave because this is somehow her fault. Back flies Super Lana to the floating estate, and Superman anxiously follows.
Lana, why are you...
I'm leaving you because I love you. Now that I always have to save you from the effects of kryptonite, people feel sorry for you. I won't have people saying Mrs. Superman has to protect her husband. You gave me superpowers and your love, but my invulnerability to kryptonite has proven a curse, so I'm going to give you back your self-respect. Oh no, she believes it too. No, Lana, you two can break the mold. Escape the toxicity. So she leaves, begging him not to watch so that he doesn't know where she went. She'll live the rest of her life in space, away from her friends and family. She just has to give up everything because him and her and the world can't handle her being stronger than him. Sadly, the Man of Steel obeys.
She's right. In time, our love for each other would have been destroyed by her pity for me. How can I be her hero when she's mightier than I am?
Off into the universe flies Super Lana. Well, I never dreamed. What kind of joke was that? Let's try that again. My voice is cracking. The joke was so bad. Joke. I never dreamed it would end like this. I had to give him up. Oh no, not again. Joke.
I'll never stop loving him.
Sad, eh? Oh well, it's only an imaginary story anyway, and maybe it'll never happen. So cheer up. I feel like based on how snarky that end box was, you're about to get like boxed on the chin. Like, so cheer up, kiddo. Also, yes, it is sad, snarky ending narration box, but potentially not for the reasons that are being inferred inside that box. Follow the thought through, relationship aside. Now the next time green kryptonite arrives, Superman can just lose or die. Or the next time he goes evil, he can just kill a bunch of people. Truly the better solution than having his wife help him. That's what the people of Metropolis would have wanted. Listen, Superman is a strong, independent hero who don't need no wife. Tune in next issue when Lois gets a huge head. Okay, this issue is so many things. It has your usual having to suspend to allow for the scenario for how she's so easily able to uncover his identity. It has your fun Silver Age elements with the robots and Stalker Shrine, but mostly it's a fascinating look on the impact of different societal mores on a story. This story is basically working through the idea that if Superwoman, Lana, is stronger than Superman, then he is fundamentally emasculated. It treats that as a fact, and then everything else moves outward. And that makes it a really interesting read, and for some potentially a frustrating one. But it's a window into certain thought processes, particularly how both Lana and Clark have internalized these ideas. Oh, of course Lana would come to pity him. Oh, of course he couldn't have self-respect respect if she's stronger than him and both of them feel that way. Those internalized ideas ultimately have a bigger impact on the couple than the outside world. In a way without meaning to be. It's a commentary on how absorbing that kind of messaging can lead to destroying a really good relationship. And also how that distraction can then endanger the people around them. Because again, she was really helping. Everybody had kryptonite for some reason. So in this story, he chose being not only less protected himself, but less capable of protecting the Earth so that he would look better. And look better in quotes. There's so much there. Some of it is almost sweet with how he wants to be her hero, but it's twisted and warped into something psychologically destructive. And it's the same on her end. She thinks he needs to be that as well. You can think on this one for a while, because remember back at the start, he gave her these powers because he didn't want her to get hurt. Yes, ending narration box, it is sad. Even though you can tell based on the tone of that box that they knew they were going above and beyond, perhaps this story is cheekily pushing against those ideas by exaggerating them so much, making it almost nonsensical, maybe a form of malicious compliance. Take that, code. Or maybe that's just my wishful thinking. Or it could be a response to the previous imaginary story, which was Superman and Lois, which approached this from a much more realistic angle. And so if one were then to jump into this Superman marries Lana story and do the same thing, it may feel a bit repetitive. He needs to have different outcomes for each marriage, unless it's that one issue where all of his wives die. And even though the way that this approaches the topic is exaggerated, it does speak to a core issue that is something that some could feel, some may still feel. I, for one, for that reason, find the story to be very thought-provoking on an analysis level, more so than one may expect from the cover of Superman cooking a super steak. And also, it's very entertaining from a Silver Age wackiness perspective if one appreciates that kind of thing. If one doesn't, then this may be a very frustrating outing again, especially if then coupled with the different societal expectations and how much they impact the story. Some may find this hard to read or not enjoyable. As mentioned, the Brave and the Bold episode that's showcased this moment, it makes tons of other references. Just let me know if you want to look at any of them. And of course, please let me know what you think about this story. I'm so curious. Your thoughts, I want to hear them. Please leave them down below. While you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Yes, I wore my Lois shirt for this.